And what we know is that there was a note left. So what is so disturbing is I think that this mom had been involved in a very lengthy custody battle over.
Yeah, this had been going on for a long time, and it was bitter, and they kept, I guess, altering the conditions of visitation. And I think the most recent part of it was they had alternating weeks of custody, right?
Yes, but it looks like she lost custody for a long time because it was such a nasty custody battle going on.
Most people think of Las Vegas as a place where you go to escape, to leave behind whatever is waiting for you at home. The worry, the pain, the weight of things that never seem to resolve. On Valentine's Day weekend of 2026, a 38-year-old woman named Tawnia McGeehan drove from West Jordan, Utah to Las Vegas with her 11-year-old daughter, Addie. Before we dive into this case, I want you to subscribe to this channel if you found this case interesting, like this video and share it, because what this case unfold will keep you shocking. Now let's dive into the case. They were going to a cheerleading competition. Addie was so excited, she was doing backflips in their hotel room at 5 in the morning. By 2:30 that afternoon, she was gone. And so was her mother. Before we talk about what happened in that Las Vegas hotel room, you need to know who Addi Smith was. Because the way a story like this gets told, in headlines, in police reports, in court filings, it can strip a child down to a victim, a statistic, a case number. Addie was none of those things. Her gym owner, Corey Uyatake, described her as, and I want you to hear this, kind of the hype man on the team. The first one to jump up when things weren't going their way. The kid who looked at her teammates and said, "We've got this." She was 11 years old. She had her whole life in front of her. She had made gifts for her teammates before the Las Vegas trip. She had bought new clothes for the competition. She had posted photos of herself doing backflips at 5 in the morning, full of energy, full of joy. She never made it to that competition. No one from her team ever saw her again. We don't know exactly what time it happened. What we know is this. Tawnia McGeehan and Addie checked into their hotel room at the Rio Hotel and Casino near the Las Vegas Strip. They were there for the cheerleading competition the next morning. Addie's team, Utah Extreme Cheer, arrived at the Orleans Arena the following day. Addie wasn't there. Tawnia wasn't there. No answer on the phone. No response to messages. The team raised the alarm. A welfare check was requested. Las Vegas Metropolitan Police officers went to the hotel at 10:45 in the morning. They knocked. They called into the room. Nothing. With no visible signs of emergency and no response, they left. Family members and friends kept pushing. They contacted the hotel again and again. Hotel security returned to the room at 2:30 in the afternoon, nearly 4 hours after the first welfare check. They found Tawnia McGeehan and Addi Smith inside the room. Both dead. Lieutenant Robert Price of the Las Vegas Metropolitan Police confirmed at a press conference the following Monday, Tawnia had shot her daughter before turning the gun on herself. A note was found. Its contents have not been released to the public. Back in Utah, the shock was immediate and devastating. Utah Extreme Cheer canceled all classes and open gym sessions for the week. A moment of silence was held at the Orleans Arena in Las Vegas.
The entire cheer community and cheer world was shocked to hear the tragic news of the young life lost. Cheerleading is about more than stunts and scores. It's about trust. It's about lifting one another, sometimes literally, and knowing someone has your back. And she understood that. We dedicate our final day of All-Star Nationals to Addie. She didn't just stand in formation, she stood for her team. And maybe that's why this feels so unfair. Because someone with so much light feels like they should be here longer.
Right there at the competition, Addie never got to attend. Utah Cinderella, a pageant organization Addie had been part of, released a statement saying her bright smile and kindness will never be forgotten. One of her teammates, a girl who had been on the floor with Addie, who had trained beside her, who had called her a friend, told reporters she was planning to launch a mental health awareness and suicide prevention program at her school. In Addie's name, Addie's aunt, Valerie Christine Muniz, asked the public to stop speculating as the family processed their grief. That request deserves respect. But questions like the ones this case raises, they don't belong only to the family. They belong to all of us. Because the system that was supposed to protect Addie is a system that operates in every state in this country. And it failed her. What I'm about to walk you through is not a rumor. It is not speculation. It is the documented court record. Tawnia McGeehan and Addie's father, Brad Smith, began their divorce proceedings in 2015, when Addie was still a toddler. What followed was nearly a decade of bitter legal warfare over one little girl's life. Early on, Addie lived primarily with her mother, with Brad receiving regular parent time. But the arrangement broke down quickly. Court records document escalating conflict. Eventual custodial interference charges were filed against McGeehan in 2018, though they were later dismissed. The antagonism between the two households became severe enough that a court imposed extraordinary protocols for custody handoffs. Both parents were required to park 5 spaces apart during school exchanges. Addie, a small child, was made to walk between the 2 vehicles alone. When school was not in session, transfers took place outside a police station. Neither parent was allowed to film these exchanges. All communication was ordered to happen through a court-approved custody app only. Then came 2020, and the ruling that should have changed everything. On December 8, 2020, Family Court Commissioner Marian Ito wrote that Tawnia McGeehan had, and these are the court's own words, committed domestic abuse in the presence of the minor child. The commissioner wrote that McGeehan had engaged in conduct on the spectrum of parental alienation toward Brad. That her ability to co-parent was in serious question. The court found that Brad Smith had demonstrated a better understanding of Addie's physical and emotional needs. Temporary sole custody was awarded to Brad. Tawnia's parenting time was reduced to supervised visitation only, with 3 specific people named by the court as her supervisors. The system had seen what it needed to see. It had named it. It had acted on it. And then, it reversed course. Nearly 4 years after that December 2020 finding, a Utah court issued its final custody order. The document declared both Tawnia McGeehan and Brad Smith to be, quote, fit and proper persons to parent Addie. Joint legal custody. Joint physical custody. 1 week on, 1 week off. Exchanges at Addie's school every Monday morning. And then this, Tawnia McGeehan was granted presumptive decision-making authority over Addie's education, her healthcare, her religious upbringing. Over every major decision of her daughter's life. The woman who 4 years earlier had been found to have committed domestic violence in front of her child, stripped of parenting time, and placed under supervision, was now the one with the final say. Less than 2 years later, Addie was dead. In the weeks before that Valentine's Day weekend, something was building. Tawnia's own mother, Connie McGeehan, told reporters that her daughter had been receiving cruel, harassing text messages from 1 or 2 other mothers on the cheer team. For about a month. At a prior competition, another girl had been dropped during a routine. Some parents blamed Addie, and they made sure Tawnia knew it, in the ugliest way possible. A source close to the team confirmed to reporters that there had been a face-to-face confrontation between McGeehan and another cheer mom in a competition waiting room in the weeks before Las Vegas. I want to be careful here. Because the cruelty of a few adults in a cheer parent group does not cause a murder. It does not explain it. It does not excuse it. What it may represent is a pressure valve, in someone who was already in crisis, that finally gave way. We don't know what Tawnia McGeehan's mental state was in those final weeks. We don't know what she was carrying. We don't know what the note she left behind says. What we do know is that the signs, across nearly a decade of court records, were there. And no one put them together in time. Here is what the Utah family court system knew about Tawnia McGeehan before it handed her primary authority over Addie's life in 2024. It knew she had committed domestic violence in the presence of her child. It knew she had engaged in parental alienation behaviors. It knew she had faced custodial interference charges. It knew her financial record included back-to-back bankruptcy filings. It knew that in 2020, her own parenting rights had been suspended and placed under supervision. It knew all of that. And yet, by May 2024, both parties were declared fit and proper. And Tawnia was given the presumptive say over Addie's future. Family law experts and child safety advocates have a name for this pattern. They call it the custody to danger pipeline. It describes what happens when courts, eager to achieve finality in long-running disputes and promote parental equality, gradually rehabilitate the records of parents with documented histories of violence or instability, without rigorously re-evaluating the risk. The questions that need to be answered, and that the sealed court record currently prevents the public from answering, are these. Was a guardian ad litem appointed for Addie between 2020 and 2024, an independent advocate specifically charged with protecting her interests? Were mental health evaluations ordered for McGeehan before the 2024 decree? Were they up to date? What evidence did the court consider that led it to reverse the 2020 findings? Did Brad Smith contest the 2024 order, or did both parties agree to it? Did any professional, therapist, counselor, social worker, flag ongoing concerns about McGeehan's stability? Most of the case file is sealed under Utah family court rules. That is standard practice, and there are real reasons for it. But it also means that the full story of how the court arrived at its 2024 decision may never be made public. And that is a problem. Not just for this case. For every family navigating this system. For every child in a contested custody arrangement. Because the system that failed Addi Smith did not fail in secret. It failed in plain sight. The documents existed. The findings existed. The history was on paper. And a little girl still died. Addi Smith was 11 years old. She was the hype man. The one who ran to the center of the floor and made everyone believe things were going to be okay. She made gifts for her teammates before the Las Vegas trip. She bought new clothes. She was doing backflips at 5 in the morning because she was so excited for the day ahead. She deserved a system that took the warning signs seriously. She deserved a court that weighed her safety above administrative convenience. She deserved to grow up. She deserved better than this.